Imagine you are stuck on a desert island and there's actually a way to get out. But the only way to get out is some sort of magic gate that has a secret code. And for whatever reason, one member of your team has this secret code and won't share it with anyone. So everyone needs to work together to get to this gate and escape. But this asshole with the magic code starts to use his power in an abusive way and starts to try and control the whole group. And in many ways is so happy controlling the whole group that he subterfuges any way that you actually get to that gate. So he acts as if he's a member of the team, but really he's sabotaging the team. And yet the team needs him. You can't just get rid of him because once you get to the gate, you really need that code. So this is ego. That asshole, that's ego. You need ego. But ego works against you, even if it's a part of your system. What can you do about this? You don't kill your ego. People talk about killing their ego. What do you even mean? You don't kill that guy, right? There's no way out. Then you're stuck on the island forever. You need to minimize his ability to manipulate and control the group, no matter how much he tries, because this guy left unchecked. He wants to be emperor. And he's paranoid and weird too. So the most magical member of the group, rather than going, oh yeah, let's use your magical abilities to make our lives better and help us get to the gate faster, he goes, you're not allowed to use your magic. If you do, I'll kill you. And the strongest member of the group that really threatens this asshole. So he's strongest member of the group. Now you're the baby. You have to act like a baby and go goo goo gaga, and we have to feed you and spoon feed you, and you have to pretend you don't have any power at all. And that's the only way I'll allow you to stay in the group. This is literally what ego does. This is pretty much what every Western ego does, is get afraid of and ban the use of magic and infantilize and invert one's own personal power so that one feels powerless and one doesn't even know who they are. So almost everyone's ego has run amok. And in the case of this kind of story, that asshole is now emperor of the whole island, has everyone doing what he says, which is paranoid and strange and inverted, and is designed to keep him in power rather than getting everyone to the gate. Because guess what? Once you get to the gate and go through the other side, now you don't need him anymore. So his usefulness is over. So he reigns supreme as long as you guys are stuck on the island. But once you get to that gate, it's as if he doesn't matter anymore. So he cares to keep everyone stuck rather than liberated. Whereas everyone else thinks they want to be liberated, but maybe they've been under the, despotic reign of this ego for so long that that's all they know. Now they've been stuck on the island for 20 years. And maybe they even forget that they were meaning to go to the gate. So what do you do in a situation like this where you have an ego that acts like this? Again, you don't kill your ego. I don't know what people are talking about when they say that. You have to manage your ego and take control of it and only allow it to do what it's good for, which in real life, in your case, is to physically keep you alive. Is to physically keep you alive. Your ego physically keeps you alive. And there are certain things that come with being a human. For example, cultural context. If you grew up in Japan, but then you move to Wisconsin, you have to adapt, or else you're not giving the social cues to society that you're one of them. And if society doesn't accept you as one of them, you won't be able to use the resources of society. It will be hard for you. And we did this all as children when we decided that we were going to indicate to our family members, hey, I'm one of you. Because, as you know, it's really easy to feel rejected by your own family members when you don't do the right thing, which is according to them, correct? So your ego was in response to the cultural context in which you grew up, specifically the culture of your family. So there's a lot there. That's a whole topic right there. But what I'm saying, back to the island, back to the despotic ego asshole who has the keys to the gate, you can't say, okay, you are the emperor, I agree. Because if you agree to that, then you're stuck on the island forever. Meaning your ego will grow and grow and grow in power, and now you won't even know how to extricate yourself from the situation. You have to keep your ego in check. And what does that mean? A lot of people get really confused by this. They think it's like, oh, I need to put myself down, or I have to make myself small. That in and of itself is ego. So here are two clues. One clue that your ego is overactive is you feel like you must do something. You have this compulsion. Do you feel like compelled to eat something, buy something, check your phone, distract yourself in some kind of way? And this compulsive action usually has nothing to do with, let's say, a higher spiritual purpose. If you are, let's say, practicing some sort of abundance thing and you're in your intuition, you might feel really drawn towards buying something expensive, something that normally you wouldn't buy. And that actually would be a spiritual act if you go ahead and do that, because you are gifting yourself something of a higher vibration from a higher abundance mindset than before. This is an intuitive act, and you're playing with your reality from another place. So I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about this like compulsive spending where you're not drawn to something. Okay, it's not like where that thing magnetizes you from a peaceful place. You feel like stressed and you're running towards something as if you're running away from another thing, which is you in the present moment. So people I know who are like compulsive spenders, they're highly distracted from the present moment and they kind of hate themselves, correct? And it's like this, they can't stop it. They have no control over it. So it's as if something else is in control. So this is the quality. And I think everyone knows this feeling, whether or not you've done this with spending or eating or scrolling on your phone or whatever else. Some people, they're like checking certain stats over and over and over again. Whether it's baseball stats or YouTube stats. So there's some sort of compulsive, agitated quality where you're really not in control. So there's a quality of being out of control. And you're doing something, whether you realize it or not, to not feel how you feel in the present moment, which is shitty. Okay? So it's like running away from the present moment. You probably don't think of it like that. The compulsive buyer probably doesn't even think that they're doing that, but that's what they're probably doing. The other clue that your ego is overactive in this present moment is this like strange inflated feeling that feels very, very right, which means there is a very strong other who is often wrong. So this might happen if, for example, your boundaries have been violated. And it's not your true boundaries, meaning your higher self, your true self, your spiritual self, your inner child's boundaries. It's your ego's boundaries. So it's like, I heard a father the other day get really upset that his daughter was being bothered by someone on the playground, and he just got so enraged about this person bothering his daughter. You know, he's gonna get a piece of me. You know, I'm her father. You know, like no one gets to mess with my daughter. You know, this kind of thing. So as you can imagine, he felt as if his boundaries had been violated because his daughter was being bothered. The thing is, though, there is such a strong sense of right and wrong. There was such a strong sense of justice. And his ego was completely inflated in this moment. I'm not saying that he should or should not do anything in that kind of situation. Because that situation has very, very deep roots that you can't see on the surface. But what I am saying is it reinforced his ego big time. So those are the two indicators that your personal ego are overacting. And you have to keep that in check. So in the case of the compulsive fill in the blank, you have to basically not be triggered or addicted. That's hard, right? I mean, do you know anyone who's not triggered nor addicted? So when you get triggered, you have to not act triggered. Not like pretend it's not happening and bypass, but to go through the moment, hold yourself through the moment with your divine masculine who is mature and is a warrior and can deal with difficulty. So many people have immature masculines that just completely collapse and can't deal with difficulty. They're like super unreliable on the battlefield. They're like, I'm outie, I'm out, guys. It's too hard. You guys do this for me. Most masculines act like that. There's like no honor there. So when you're triggered, you have to hold yourself through the moment with your mature masculine. If you're addicted, you need to just stop being addicted. And you can be addicted to almost anything, right? You can be addicted to like jiggling your door handle a certain way. I mean, people can be addicted to almost anything. And they don't even realize what they're addicted to. And what's really interesting is a lot of people are addicted to relationships. They're addicted to relationships to people who are bad for them. And they make all these excuses. I won't even go into the excuses right now. So when you give your energy away, when you give your life force energy away to someone like that, that's an addiction. And when you feel like sorry for them or you're in love with them, but they can't see you and, this kind of stuff, these like prototypical setups for you to be conned, as in like a con man, being conned out of your energy by another being, that you need to work on that because that is feeding your ego and making your ego stronger. And in this case, the ego of being a victim. Most people identify as victim, even if their ego lies and says, I'm not a victim. I'm victorious. I've worked on myself. Egos lie, by the way. So you have to do that. So there's this, even when you're triggered, not acting as if you're triggered and holding yourself through the moment thing that is necessary and working on your addictions. You're just not allowed to be addicted, especially to relationships, let alone addicted to substances and devices and stuff like that. Like, let alone that, some people are addicted to a city. They can't leave the city, even if the city is draining them, or a country, So there's that. The other thing is to really watch it when you feel a strong sense of justice. And I'm not saying that what you're getting riled up about is, not a just cause. But if you want to find one, there are infinite causes on earth that you can get riled up about. You can get riled up about sea turtles. You can get riled up about like microplastics. You can get riled up about the subjugation of a certain group of people, and just pick where you want to pick. And you're going to find someone to get riled up about and want to defend, right? Just like this father really wanted to defend his daughter. So your ego, when it gets riled up like that and like just really like, it's almost like you have this attitude, can you believe that? Can you believe they did that? When you have that kind of mode, what you're doing is leaking a shit ton of energy to whatever caused that situation. They're soaking it all up. And believe it or not, is very similar to when you worship a celebrity or worship a musician. Even if that is more with adoration as opposed to outrage, they also soak up all of your energy, whether you realize it or not. They don't know you exist, but they feel the energy you're giving them. You're giving them a shit ton of energy. So this is similar when you have can you believe they did that? When you have that kind of attitude, you're giving that other thing as much energy as if you were worshiping them, as if they were an idol of yours. So this also reinforces your ego by making you feel like a victim. And it's really important to check that. So what does that mean? That means when something riles up your ego like that, again, just like when you're triggered, don't act as if you're triggered. Don't act as if you want to, that would satisfy your ego. I remember once I was staying with a family in a country that I was not too familiar with, and I was being grossly overcharged for something because I was a foreigner. And that family was so upset when they heard how much I had to pay for something to get a service because I was a foreigner. They're like, oh my God, that's not right. Oh my God, that's abusive. They're taking advantage of you, And I remember kind of being like, it's all right. I mean, I understand that I was overcharged, and I understand that I was taken advantage of. And I understand that this is pretty much like, you could see it as stealing. At the same time, like, this is something I can weather. It's okay. And I'm happy to know that, what a more appropriate price is. And I'll just find someone else to provide the same service next time, and I couldn't let it drain me that much because I just couldn't be bothered, And it's not a laissez-faire kind of attitude. It's more like your inner peace can't be disturbed by the actions of others. And there was a tiny part of me, though, that got kind of excited and thrilled. It was dramatic. And I loved that this family I was staying with was like on my side. They're team me. Like, how dare they do that to the person staying with us? You come to me next time you get that service done. I'll arrange it for you. This kind of thing. So if I gave into that feeling, then it would have like really inflated my ego. And have you ever experienced a situation like that where you're kind of cool with something that went down, but someone's just like on and on and on about it, and then you kind of catch the bug, and then you get really upset? This can happen. This is actually a form of psychic attack. So even if the family cared about me, at the same time, their egos were more inflated or more enraged or more triggered. Their egos more inflamed by the action of someone else than I cared my ego to be. So that's an example of how you have to notice when that feeling is happening, and you just can't be moved. And seriously, this takes practice, because you can't, unless you've done it a lot and done a ton of other things to cultivate inner peace to begin with. You can't draw upon your inner peace to keep things smooth when something like that does happen. You don't decide how you feel. But you have to understand where the goal is and cultivate the quality of inner peace that you can draw upon in situations like that. Same with the other thing that I mentioned about when you're triggered, not acting as if you're triggered. That mature masculine, you can't call upon that unless you've cultivated that. So you have to cultivate your mature masculine all throughout the day, all the time. And that's a moment-to-moment practice. And therefore, when you're triggered, it's already strong, and that has to do with self-integrity, that has to do with honor, that has to do with being honorable to yourself and trusting yourself. So as you know, that's a lifelong practice. So ego and the asshole on the island who thinks he's emperor and doesn't want to leave the island when really it's best if everyone does. This is how you get to the gate, use that guy for the code, and don't allow him to take over the whole group and manipulate everyone and gaslight everyone. These 3 things I said, when you're stopping triggered and acting triggered, stopping addicted and acting addicted. I know it's easier said than done, but seriously, this is the way. And notice when there are incidences that inflame your ego and don't allow it to be, you have to cultivate the inner peace instead. Okay, that's it. Thank you for listening. Bye.